Hi, everybody. Welcome to Monday. It is Monday. It's January 15th. January 15th. It's already the middle of January. Oh my goodness. I hope you're all doing really well. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to be here with you today. I'm so happy to be here on artbeats.com/live. I always look forward to this time with you. So I just want to welcome you to the show. And if you are on social media, if you're on Facebook, or if you are maybe finding us on YouTube, welcome. Just a couple of thoughts on that. If you wanted to comment, I won't be able to see your name. So I would love for you to join me on artbeats.com and join me there just so we can interact a little more personally. And if that's not an option for you, that's totally fine. But some of the other really cool options for you, if you do join me on artbeats.com/live, just pop on over to that URL and click on my talking head, because I will be live right there on that page. You will have access to all of the features on this platform, which are truly magnificent. They work seamlessly. You can shop right from your screen while you're watching me. It is so simple. All you have to do is click that shopping cart button. It looks like a price tag, and it'll show you all of the products that are live in the show and available on the website. And you just can shop while we're talking, and I'll just get a little smaller, and then you can look at all the details, etc., etc. Pop it in your cart, come back to me, I'll get bigger again, and then you can, pick up wherever you are. I just think that it's just such a magnificent option for us as people who are makers and maybe don't have everything in our studio, but we need to have it right away. So as soon as possible, get that in your shopping cart. But those are some options when you are specifically on artbeats.com/live, as well as the commenting so I can see your name. If that isn't an option for you today, that is also okay. We welcome you, and I just won't be able to see your comments. And please know, there is so much that's happening behind the scenes, not only from what I share with you or what you'll hear from Julie, Becky, and Sarah. There is constant improvements, and some of that is from your feedback. We're trying to find ways to make this experience as good for you as it is for us, because we love being here with you. But if there's things that you feel like aren't working for you, let us know. Drop it in the comments. We keep track of all of this stuff. We want to be able to be here with you, do things with you, and for it to be fun. We're here to have fun. We're here to make jewelry or make stuff, we're here to learn and exchange comments and commentary and questions. And it's really meant to be very community oriented. So please, please, please let us know what it is you need to make that a little bit more of a special experience for you. But meanwhile, we're already working on it. There's already things happening, and we just need things to work seamlessly, or at least as best as we can before we roll them out. So new things are coming, new options are coming, and new people are coming. Meanwhile, Julie, Becky, Sarah, and me, we're live nearly every day during the regular work week. So please be sure to look at the main artbeats.com/live page and see what's going on there, so you can see what's coming up. You can sorry, I was looking for comments. They weren't popping up. You can see what everybody has coming up, and you can add it right to your calendar. Again, an amazing option, because if you're like me, you're like, oh yeah, I'll tune in, and then you forget. But if it's in my calendar, I never forget. I am so attached to my phone, which has my calendar, which keeps me on track and helps me show up on time for all sorts of things, including the things I actually really want to be part of. So please make it a point to be here with us live if you can. Not only can you ask questions while we're working and teaching you things or sharing things or talking about whatever, it gives us a chance to actually work and talk with you in the moment. And this way we can, really have that experience together. But if not, just drop a comment, let us know, and catch the replays. If you can't be here live, catch the replay. And speaking of the replays, those are all down a little bit further on the page. If you are here with me today and you're like, I need to get all of the things that I'm seeing. I want to do this. I want to do some needle felting. I can't wait to get it. And then a few days go by, you get your package, because I will tell you, Art Beads is amazing in getting their shipments, and I'm completely across the country, and I get my stuff really fast, and not because I'm here with you live, like I'm a regular customer, but meanwhile, real life happens, right? And you get your stuff, and then another week goes by, and something else comes up. You're like, oh, how is that? How did that work? Just watch the replay. Fast forward. Don't listen to all my yammering. Fast forward. Get to the meat. Get to the heart of it. Get to what it is you need to remember how to do, and get to it. That's really the beauty of it. The library is there for you, and tune in. Oh my gosh, there are so many amazing things happening from the other designers that are here. I'm so honored to be a part of this team. I'm thrilled to be working with the current people who are here, and I'm excited about the people who I know are joining, and then to see who else comes along and does all these things. All right, I'm just going to scroll through some comments. Good morning, Shelly. Hi, Jan. Robin. So good to see you. Hi, Kat. Deborah. Well, I'm excited too. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Linda. I figured, I could tell you a story about my blue glasses, but this is not my first pair. My first pair was 7th grade, and they didn't go over so well. So I decided to try again. Hello, Anita. Welcome, and good evening. Lynette, thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. I love sharing. You guys, I've been doing this for a really long time. I started out, I've been making my whole life. My mother and father both were really very handy. They did all sorts of things. So I've been making my whole life, but I really got into this more seriously and then professionally in my early mid 20s. So a lot of time's passed since then. And I'm still so excited about sharing. I'm so excited about making things. I really love sharing. Sarah disappeared. Where can I go and get it to finish watching? Oh, it's just, so if you're on the artbeads.com/live page, if you just scroll down, you'll see there's a whole list of all the things that have happened. And I think we're at a point now where you have to hit see more. And then those other previous episodes should be there. Let's make sure. Oh, hi, Mom. Thank you. Oh, you're so kind. Make sure. Oh, yes, Pamela, of course. Sorry. I know I'm sorry. I get so excited. So we're going to do some needle felting. We are needle felting today. I'm actually going to work on a bead this side, like a little teeny tiny little bead. I love needle felting. And I'm so glad to have a place where I can share it. Art Beads, because of their partnership with Tulip, I don't know about you guys, but I love Tulip's products, and I was just picking out a couple of needles because I needed some new beading needles, and I was like, wait, there's felting tools? Because I didn't realize that Art Beads had felting tools, and I'm like, I need to do this. I need to try their tools. I need to figure out like exactly what we can do with the products that are here at Art Beads, and I'm so excited to be bringing this to you, and I'm really excited that people are excited about it. I've had people reaching out. They're like, I can't wait for you to do the needle felting. So let me make sure I got through all of my list. Oh, so if you're on social, so say you're on social and you are not able to just jump over to artbeads.com, totally fine. But if you could you share the show maybe with your friends, people that you know are interested? And if not today, next time, so that you can make sure that people are aware that we're doing this. Because the more people that are here, the more fun we have, the more interaction you guys have. This becomes like our safe space, our fun community, our place where we can interact, share stories, check in with people. My mom's here. You guys could talk to my mom. It's kind of fun. And that is really our goal here, is to be very community minded and together and spend this time together. Let's see, and make sure I've got everybody. Oh, thanks. Esme, yes. Okay, so you guys can hear me okay? So for those of you who can't hear, okay. So cut to the chase. You guys want to get to it. Got it. Okay. Heard loud and clear. All right. So I'm going to drop down, but as I mentioned, we're going to do some needle felting. Let me make sure you guys can see this. This is like kind of more of an all-encompassing where you could take your needle felting and combine it with your jewelry. But as I mentioned, we're going to be focusing on making something like this today. So let me go over the tools with you and we'll get to it. All right, I'm going to move this guy off to the side so I can get over to this tray. And then I'm going to put you guys down. All right, bear with me. I'll bring you a little closer to me. Trying out a new flip. There we go. All right. Move the light down so we minimize as many shadows as I can. All right, so here we are. Here are the needle felting tools. Oops, don't let that scoot away. You have some options. So, needle felting, what does it mean? For those of you who have actually not done it before, let me first show you the needles. And let me stress and really emphasize, these needles are very, very sharp. And so you can see there's some barbs, like little barbs on the end of this. So you've got like this section here is the actual part where you're needle felting. And you can see those little grooves in there, and there's a flat side and a little fork. That is what a needle felting needle looks like. It has this little bend in it, and it's very, very, very strong. It's got this bend in it, it's got the shaft, and then it's got the business end. And it is, I am not kidding you. When I first started needle felting, and they were very, very, very specific, they said, these are very, very sharp. You do not want to poke yourself. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm watching TV and I'm needle felting, and I missed and I hit my finger, and like, it is instant how quickly those needles will really stab you, and you will be dealing with the puncture versus needle felting. So please be careful, especially when you're first starting. I do suggest getting something that is, especially when you're first starting, something that is somewhat fitted so that you're not clumsy and working with something so bulky. These are just the tips of some gardening gloves. So really, you have Band-Aids on hand, absolutely, because you don't want to have to stop doing what you're doing just because you hurt yourself. And it's not like you're going to have a serious injury, but these needles are very sharp. And so I keep 2 of these on hand. If I'm really like, I can't focus or whatever, I will keep something like this on hand. There's many options for things like this, but really, I literally just got a pair of gardening gloves and clipped these off. And I use these for other things. So these are always in my studio when I'm working with things that are a little bit sharp. I really, my hands are my life. So I really can't risk getting hurt. But meanwhile, I want to do things, and sometimes you just have to find a way to keep going. Okay, so for the main focus of what we're doing, there's 2 different thicknesses. There's a fine. Sorry, this is like the packaging. This is what it'll look like when you get it. There's a fine needle, and then there's one that's a little bit thicker. There are, 2 options, and there's a reason for that. And I will get to that. But then there's also, so you really could just use the tool like this. And when I first started, I didn't know any better. And so that's what I did. But then I learned, oh wait, there's actually a handle. So you don't have to be totally cramping up your hand. And these are just a few options. These are all by Tulip. And the nice part is that once you have the handle, all you need are the needles. And to replace the needles. And each of these comes individually, and they don't, this one specifically does not come with the needle, but it's like a cork. It's not made of cork, but it's like a cork. You pull this out, you anchor the needle in place, put it back in, and by nature of just friction, it holds it in place. And it's very comfortable. This one, the handle's a little bit bigger. It comes with a needle. It comes with this cover. It comes with this nice extra sleeve, and the needle's in place. And this is a thicker needle. And this one, it's like just a plastic cap in theory. And you just pull it out. And then this will now look familiar to you. There's your needle. And to put it, you just put it back in. slide it down into that opening and get it through. Oops. I jinxed myself. This is not hard to do, but I'm doing it. Should not have taken it apart. There we go. So I can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right. It really just slides right in. I've probably done it 100 times, but for some reason, and it just snaps back on and you're back in business. Now, why do you need replacements? It's not, I will say, for as long as I've been needle felting, I have not worn out my needles, but I've broken them. And I will, as I'm showing you how to do the needle felting, I'll explain to you what not to do so you have the longest life possible with your needles. All right, let me move these aside. Hopefully I won't need to replace anything. Now, this one is just a little bit different. This one obviously has 3 needles, and this is better or intended more for sculptural. So this is just like a ball of wool, and it's just meant to give you a little bit more action multiplied. So you're not just needle felting this with a single needle. I will tell you, I made this with just a single needle, but this is brilliant because you're tripling your motion. Same motion 3 times. So, and this takes both the thick and the thin needles. And you just go around. All right. So those are the needles. Oh, so Kim, you've been stuck. Yeah, well, if you've needle felted, you likely have been stuck. I can tell you, even as I was prepping for this and I was testing out the tools, making sure that everything was working fine, I got a little distracted and I was like, no, pay attention. You must pay attention because it really does hurt. And I don't like to get hurt. Okay, so what are we felting with? Needle felting, the action of the needles is really to help interweave the fibers of wool. It is wool. It is wool based, and there are different kinds of wool. This is natural. It's sold just like this in a very small little ball, or you could buy a big bag depending on how much you want to be felting. But this is roving. And so if you are a spinner, if you spin your own yarn, you are familiar with buying roving like this. When I first started needle felting, I'm like, what is this? Roving? Where are we going? It's called roving, and it's just the fibers. They've been cleaned, and in this case, they're left natural. This is the color right off of the sheep. And I remember when I first started buying roving, they're like, do you have a particular sheep in mind that you want to get your roving from? So if you buy from the same person, you could buy from the same sheep consistently. And I didn't understand that at the time. Now that I've been to like a sheep and fiber, wool and fiber show, I now get it. I've seen the sheep. I get it. So here you can see this, now this this wool has been dyed, but then you hopefully can also see the difference in the fibers. So this is so soft. It's not quite, it's probably as soft as this. This is so soft and so smooth. There's nothing crunchy about it. There's nothing coarse. It's not coarse. It's very smooth. It's probably like a merino, very soft. I don't think I have anything luxurious here, but you could get cashmere, you could get curly locks, and then this is definitely, there, I think I can get pretty close. You could see there's a lot of texture to that. And what I know about the texture, something like this will felt up much more quickly, because in essence, what you're doing is just, you're like, the barbs of the needle are knitting these fibers together, and this works up much more quickly. But what I really love about the smoother, more fine, soft fibers is I'd get a really nice level of detail. And what I can show you, what I mean, like you can see, I can get detail. It's almost like drawing. And even though I've got such a high contrast and I could easily lose the detail of the white in the black so easily, I'm able to sustain that. And that I attribute to the fine quality of the wool. And here, like this one, you can see this, I think actually is this green, has some of this green in it. Oops. Sorry about that. It's actually very springy. I worked really hard on not hard. I've made these very hard. They're very firm, very solid. I think the exercise here that I was really going for was making it round. At one point I did string this in a whole bracelet, and I didn't care for I didn't care for it, but I think it is kind of fun. They're just very big. But what would be fun here is if you wanted to make this, you could stitch beads on here. You can make this into a little like pom-pom string in your office, or there's so many things. But here can you see, like, this is also some sari silk. So once you start working with this, you'll realize that you can work in yarn. You could use your yarn scraps. You can work in silk fiber, silk cording. So silk has the same qualities as the wool, it's just a lot more fine. But here I was able to felt the wool to the silk. It's just such a, it's just such a wonderful marriage of material. There's really, and I love that it's natural. It's all natural. Everything about it. There's nothing in the dyeing process. Everything is dyed for you, but you could always, of course, dye it yourself. These little guys, you can either make these by hand, or you can buy them already they're called something. I forget what they're called, but there's so many different, it's like beads, right? There's just so many different ways and different types of wool you can buy to incorporate into your felting. Okay, let's get on to, here's a couple other things that you need to do the felting. Is you need something to felt into. Like, you need to put the fiber onto something to then be able to do the thing. So I have a few different options here. This itself is wool. This, if you're familiar with some of those wool felted ironing pads, if you're a quilter and you have your ironing pad, this is like that, just stacked really thickly. And this is just, I love the size. This is small. This is like 4x6. And then this is also wool. And it also, it's a little bit more cushiony and a little bit bigger. And I just love the color. What I started out with, and what works perfectly fine, is this very dense foam. And the only downside of this, although it's never happened to me, is this can become compressed over time, and then it therefore loses its viability in using it for needle felting. So you have lots of options when it comes to your work surface. For today, for the sake of space, I will be working here. And as I was explaining earlier, you can just make a bead and not have a form. What I liked about using a form, it gives you something to work with, and it gives you a very clean. Could you use styrofoam? No, I don't think that styrofoam would work. I think it would break apart pretty readily. This is like a foam. This isn't even upholstery foam. It's very, very, very dense. And styrofoam would just break apart. This needle would destroy styrofoam. You'd have foam pellets everywhere. But that's a great question. Can you felt into a felt hat? I think what would happen with it not being so dense, if it's really just a hat, is your wool would become a part of the hat. So if you wanted to embellish your hat and your hat is wool, absolutely. You could decorate a felt hat till you decided it was too much. So what I liked about using this, what do I want to call this? Like a tube. It's like a tube bead. It's called, like, everybody calls it something a little bit different. This is a tube bead to me, but it's metal, and it gives me a place to start. And then at the end, it gives me a very easy way to convert this into something wearable or something I can hang. And that is what this one was put upon. Let me give you a better example. So you can see we just built the base around this guy. And it makes the perfect core to your bead so that you can then string it onto a head pin and then do with it what you want, which we'll get to at the end. All right, so this is how I go about it. I'm sure as people who are professional needle felters, they may not do it the same way I do it. I really am self-taught in this. My mom's here, she can attest to it. I went to her yarn store. I'm like, Mom, I want a needle felt. And we were spending a few days at her place, and I bought fiber and I bought the needles, and I sat home. I went back to her house and I made a Santa Claus ornament, and everybody was really excited about it. And I was like, oh, I guess this is what I'm going to do. So then I made all these different shapes and all these different designs, and I didn't really have any idea what I was doing. I just want to bring you a little closer to the camera. I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and I just kind of fell into the zone of, what we do when we're making things. You just get into it. So what I'm going to do here, very, very, very carefully, I just want to kind of give myself a little bit of a seam, and then I'm going to flip it around. So I'm working very carefully. I don't want to hit this bead, this tube bead. One, it'll probably skate off and stab me, or two, it will be what will break my needle, and I don't want to break my needle. Breaking your needle is not the end of the day, but when it's 3 a.m. and you can't sleep and you're needle felting and you don't have a replacement, it makes you very sad. All right, so now I've got that seam, just a little bit of a seam, and I'm going to now, actually, let me do it this way. This is not how I would normally do it, but for the sake of you being able to see, I want to try to make this do this as best as I can. Don't stab your finger. And here what I'm trying to do is take those two sides of the roving that I folded over and capture this tube in place so it kind of anchors it a little bit. It doesn't fall out as easily. Eventually it's so stuck in there it doesn't matter, but you have to start somewhere. Okay, and I'm sorry, everything's shaking. I'm trying to move quickly. All right. And so, I don't know if you could tell, but I wanted to lift it up off of this wool. Any surface you felt onto, you will be working your fibers a little bit into the surface. So you do want to just, when you're pulling it up, you want to kind of lift it. All right. I've got a little bit of a start. So now I will wrap it around a little bit more. And I will start to build up that layer so that I can start to grow the bead. And you could see now, probably you could see like, oh, I see why 3 needles would make this go much quicker. Unfortunately, with this design, there's no room for those 3 needles right now. So those are really meant for larger scale pieces. And so now you can see that bead is kind of stuck in there. And from here, I'll just wrap it around. and keep going. And then once you get a little bit further along, you'll definitely work both sides as you're doing this. And you likely can hear, I keep getting very close to that inner core. And it's okay to touch it, but you don't want to stab it. You really don't want to stab it. And then I want to get back on this side. Let me turn it this way and see if this also gives you an angle so you can see what's happening. And you just want to keep working. And again, you really want to, especially at the starting point, you must pay attention, or you will very, very easily hurt yourself. And you just don't want to do that. As it gets bigger, you can really keep your hands out of the way. And then you just keep growing the bead. And I really do get all sides, because as you're folding as you're folding the roving over, and I know I keep focusing just on these two sides, what I'm forming into be these two sides, because I'm making somewhat of an oval, you do want to also get the fronts. And let me go to a bigger bead so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So I'm focusing a lot of my attention on the sides because I'm going for more of an oval shape than a round shape. But you definitely want to knit up or felt up the face as well. You really want to get into all the fibers all around. And then as this gets bigger, it gets easier. It's easier to hold. You have less room for error. But now at this stage, what your focus is on shape. So, for me, I feel this looks symmetrical. It looks good on both sides, from both ends. And then this way, I don't seem to have anything too out of shape from either angle, which is good. Same with this guy. So once you're happy with your shape, it's time to do the fun parts. And as I mentioned, we have some colors. There are less vibrant colors. I mean, the color palette is extensive. And if you buy the natural, you can dye it yourself. It's wool. I mean, so you're dyeing it the same you would any fibers, and then just read the manufacturer's directions. But we'll stick with this color palette, and I'm kind of going with the pink option. So I'm just, let me show you that. When you're pulling it, you're not using scissors. You're really just kind of, if you've ever spun wool, like eventually the fibers just pull out, and you just pull away like this, kind of just pull out the section that you want. And that's what I did here. So I just pulled away a small amount from the main bulk of my color. And I will really just enrobe this sweet little bead with the fibers that I just pulled off. And here where you are overlapping, the color will really be more intense on the side where it's doubled than where it's barely, doubled, where it's still just mostly single. And all you have to do there is just add a little bit more. So I am back to the same process. And now this is where this is where I'm always reminded, wait, don't break your needle. If you if you see that I'm moving the fibers with my needle to try to help guide it into place, you can easily snap your needle with that motion. And again, it's not the end of the world. It's just inconvenient and it's an expense. At the end of the day, it's not really the right thing to do, but it does happen. And I tend, once I start doing the finer detail work, it's where I get into the most trouble, because I'm using it not only to do the felting, but I'm using it as a tool to help me with what I call my drawing. You know, for me, I don't know about you, but like when I do bead embroidery, for me, it's like it's coloring with beads, it's drawing with beads. And I feel the same way about this needle felting. I use the fibers as my, with the impact, but I use the needle as my tool to help me do my drawing. And you can see it's very forgiving, but if it gets caught or you're not careful, you can easily snap that section. And then you would just go around and around. And this is where you really want to get all of the fibers. You want to go all the way around, including the face. Because we've built up the sides, there's more to, like, I can go through, all the way through. So there's a lot more forgiveness on the edges where there's, a lot more material. We're here in the middle where I still have that core bead, that it's very shallow. So you don't have a lot of room to do the work. So you just have to be very patient and just go all the way around. Oh, so Deborah, I hope this solves both things for you. It helps empower you to believe you can do the needle felting. You can see how approachable it really is. And you can make your own bead to match whatever you're doing. And then you just go all the way around. And then again, like here, I've got this clear spot where I didn't have enough overlap, and I would want to fill that in. So then you just pull off a little bit more and do that same process all over again until it looks like that. And then from here, you can do whatever you want with it. And what I liked about this, I feel the design really led my hand. And I'll show you what I mean, although unfortunately I've already strung it up as a finished example. But I have this gap at the bottom where I didn't really emphasize covering it with the pink. So I took the blue and I just filled in that gap. So I feel I let the design guide my hand and my decisions. So I'll show you how I did that, so we can get to the finer point. And now this is where I will shift into the other needle. Of course, I moved it, and oh, here it is. This is where, when I get to the finer detail, this is when I will switch to the finer needle. And I don't know that you can see the example, but part of why I'm reminded when to switch, when I'm working in this bead here, you can see the mark from the needle. You can see the mark the needle leaves. When you work with a finer needle, of course, the hole is much smaller. So the impact is much less. And because I'm now getting to a finer level of detail, that actually starts to detract from what I'm trying to accomplish in my design. And when you start to do this drawing with the fibers, you really don't need a lot, and you could always add more. It's much more challenging to take away. So I'm just going to very gently pull away. And because I'm going to create a line, I will twist the fibers by hand. And I will just position it so I can hold it, grab my needle, and carefully work along that rim. and just, I always say knit it into place. You're really felting it, but to me, you're knitting, you're knitting the fibers together so that they hold on to each other. If you've ever, I guess they call it wet felting. If you've ever knit a wool something and then you wet felt it, it's the same thing. It's the friction. The friction kind of makes the fibers come together. And here it's the barbs on the wire, on the at the end of this needle. So here I'm just really just drawing with the fiber. And then these tails, I will continue to work the tail, one tail around here, but then to get into the bead, to start making some of those other designs, I will very carefully, now I'm holding the bead, I will very carefully manipulate it into the pink part, at first just to establish where I'm going. I do not want to go all the way through the bead, so I'm going very carefully. You don't have to hold it, but right now I think it helps you be able to see better, hopefully. And thank you for all the hearts. I appreciate that. It helps me know that I'm able to show you what you're enjoying as well as it's working and you're able to see. Now, I could take advantage of, if I wanted to, I could take advantage of how this is kind of splayed out. But what I really want to do is come back in and twist and then you can understand now when I say you want to start with less, because once you start knitting this in, it's very hard to get it out without undoing the layer below. So you really want to be intentional and have some idea of your design. All right. I think you get the point there. Yes? Okay. Once you get the general design in order, I came in and I balled up some of the green and I put that into the center of that little loop, and I continued to take the blue fibers and I just went around this side, and then I came around the back and I did this little spiral. And then I took, to kind of bring the green in a little bit more, I framed the base with just the green, and I didn't take it out from the base. You certainly could. You could do whatever you want. At this point, you could do whatever you want. I think, we say it all the time in our jewelry world, like the sky's the limit and your imagination is your only restriction, or whatever the right phrases are there. But it's really true. With color, you can play and play and play. And here, color, it's not where you're painting and you put red and green and it blends together and you get brown. You actually can have those two colors together and they don't get muddy. They really stand out. You've got beautiful contrast. And if you're really careful with that fine needle, you can keep the contrast. I think even in the white, which I feel the white and the black, it can be a little challenging to make sure you can retain that contrast because it's fiber. It's not paint. It's not ink. So you're really drawing with fiber, and it has texture to it. So it's never going to be a perfectly fine line. Although I suppose if you really worked at it, you might be able to do a better job. But then here, like, you can do these dots. Just keep going. Just keep going with it. Okay, so now what? We have this great bead. I know we want to make it into some jewelry. I thought this would also work really well at the end of a bookmark. which I thought it was funny. I saw something that Becky did the other day with a bookmark. I'm like, hey, wait, I'm using the bookmark too. I love this bookmark. I think it is so beautiful. And it comes with this jump ring on it, which is fabulous. Fabulous in that it's nice and heavy duty. Oops. Just need to open up the jump ring. I've got the bead turned into a pendant. I've got some prestige crystal on here just to kind of add a little bit of sparkle. And as I mentioned, you can use needle and thread and you can further embellish the surface of this bead or pendant at this point, charm, whatever you want to call this. There we go. I mean, look at that. How adorable is that? I know we're not quite in the gift giving season, but now we're getting around to the time of year where you start to think about birthday gifts again, and Mother's Day is in May. Like there's Valentine's Day. There's so many now different types of holidays where you can really get into making gifts again for other reasons, and they can be totally fun and colorful, and or a gift for yourself. There's nothing wrong with making something special for yourself. I think if I were to have this bookmark, I would not want to ever lose it, and I would use it in every book I read. The other option, of course, is you can make this into a super fun, oops, this jump ring doesn't belong to this guy. But for the sake of time, why don't we do that? I will pretend and use this jump ring. Oops, it's a very heavy duty jump ring. I've got a length of chain. Let's see if I can get the jump thing through that. There we go. And I'll throw on the top of this pendant we could make this super long, crazy long, or there we go. How about we just catch a link. I probably could do this in my sleep, but because I'm showing you, it's not going to work. Let's see. Come on. You can be nice. Oops. Nope. I have to change pliers. Get them out of my way. Between the pliers and the bead slipping down into the ear wire. There we go. Close that up. And you've got a super cute earring. And I don't know about you, but I think it would be fun to have multiple colors and not not have them match. I don't think my husband ever understands when my jewelry doesn't match. He'll try to be very kind and say, honey, your earring doesn't match. And then here you can string up another crystal to complement the crystals that you have, accenting your pendant. Add that on as a dangle on the other end of the chain. My goodness. Let's see, any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. So Kara, when I'm felting, I try very hard not to hit the tube. Just don't push all the way through. And I think I hit it probably almost every time. I just am not using that much force when I know that I'm really right over it. Like I will definitely go in and make sure I'm doing what I need to do to felt the pink onto the white, or even when I'm just starting the bead. But here on the edges, I know I can be a little bit less, I'd be a little more carefree. Oh my gosh, the earrings are so light when you make these. Oh, thanks, Mom. All right, I got it. I got the hint. Can the bookmark be? Yes, Art Beads definitely has that bookmark. Pull chain for a light. Oh my gosh, there's so many things you can do. All right, I'm going to flip you guys around. Oops. There we go. There we go. It's kind of funny. Then you're really close. All right. So, well, I think we're always still learning, Kara. I don't know. I'm still learning. And I think that's the wonderful thing about being alive. We can just keep learning and adding and doing new things. But how about that? Like, I think that is so fun. I actually like that length. It just about hits my shoulder, just a few inches of chain. So if you buy a length of chain, you can get a few pair of earrings out of this. You can keep this little extra piece and add another dangle or not. I mean, really, who am I to say what you want to do with that? I think there's so many different ways you can take advantage of that. Come a little closer. Fun. And it is so lightweight. The only reason you'll know it's on is because when it's swinging, it's going to hit you in the face. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I agree. I think, every piece, we find ways to use up our scrap. I think it's so important, like be thrifty, and then there's always a good place to use it up. Oh, thank you, Miss Sandra. Maybe we need to do some of this. Yes, chained. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys are so kind. I'm making sure, just scrolling back through. All right, so I know some of these products, I unfortunately chose products that were very popular. So I hope there's enough inventory for you guys as you're checking out. Make sure you close out your cart because there is a limited supply. There will be more coming. I may have jumped the gun by offering this, but I was so excited to do needle felting. Any excuse for me to get fiber in my hands and convert it into something that is something we all love and make jewelry for ourselves or gifts. I couldn't help myself. So I do hope this helped answer some of the questions. This was a popular topic. Somebody asked about it. We got it in as soon as we possibly could. So thank you. Thank you for spending so much time with me today. I truly, truly look forward to this. I am not making it up. I really look forward to this time of my week. I look forward to getting ready for it. So you're with me in my heart. You're with me in my thoughts. As you think of things, I would love to know what else you would like to know. Next week, we are bringing in the check buttons. Somebody asked 2 weeks ago about check buttons. We're bringing them in. We'll do some bead embroidery using the check buttons. So whatever products and art beads that you are interested in, or if there's products that Art Beads doesn't carry that you're interested in, we want to hear from you. So please put it in the comments. Please mention it on the other shows with the other people who are here doing lives. Again, we've got Becky, Julie, Sarah. There's so much information coming at you right here on artbeads.com/live. We have more talented designers coming. It's a wonderful time to be a part of this community, and I'm grateful to you for being here with me today. Thank you. Let's see. Let me make sure I've got everything. Yeah. All right. I think I've covered my list. Thank you. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you being with me. Let me know what else you want to see or have us share with you. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Kara. We appreciate your support, and we're so glad that we're offering you content that is helping you in some way to do what it is you want to do. So thank you. Thank you, Shelley. Oh, thank you, Miss Sandra. Thank you. It's been wonderful spending time with all of you. Oh, thank you, Deborah. If you have any questions, like if you're like, wait, what about this? Please let me know. You guys can find me on social media. That would probably be the most expedient way for you to reach me. And then I can answer whatever questions you might have in addition to this. So anything you want to know. If I know it, I'm happy to share it. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a great week ahead. I look forward to seeing you again next week, Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern. We're doing check buttons and some bead embroidery. Thank you.